by Jaynee on YouTube, on .net, and spirits by Jaynee on gmail.com. The reason I wanted to come back is I wanted to talk about what's going to happen to the orange man. I'm sure you know who I mean. Um, I did see him melting down, and I see him. I see him being taken away. Let me get. Um, Show me what will happen with Trump. I see him being marched away. What's going to happen to the Supreme Court? They're not going to be shot. Come on, you're being facetious. Okay, they're showing me people getting out of their seats on the Supreme Court. I can't see who, but I see them getting out of their seats, so it will change. Um, I've seen Trump in a white room with nothing. I don't think he's going to stay. I think he'll be pushed out. I don't know how. Um, I don't know if the Supreme Court will be in the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Some of the people on the Senate and the House might be. What will happen? Will there be people from the Senate on who've abused young women at Jeffrey Epstein's? They're showing me it like going down the drain. So I think that will just cut off their careers. Um, I think I'm going to dump this because this is, this stinks. Um, I don't really have anything to say. I'm getting hi, hello, hi, po, and it's funny and morning. Oh, it's morning somewhere. Of course it is. It's amazing that we have the internet and we can talk to anybody anywhere on earth. And it's immediate. I grew up with a phone on the wall, and I knew that, well, I used to walk into my grandmother's apartment in Philly on Broad Street, and there was one of those phones with the it was like this. Let me show you. They had the phone was this thing, like this, like this. You know what I mean, like that. And you talked into a let me see. It was a, how do I do this? On this machine, there was a thing that you talked into like this. See that? It stuck out, and the phone, this part was on the side. My grandmother had one phone in her house, in her apartment, and she had a TV that was about this big, and it had kind of rounded screen, and she thought it was great, and so did I. And this was, I was born in 1947, so um, you know, there certainly were not color TVs, and I had to wait until we got a TV in our house, and then I waited until 6 o'clock when Howdy Doody came on, and before that there was nothing. It wasn't anything. So Howdy Doody was on, and I don't know how long. I think it must have been a half an hour. And then John Facenda came on. He had the news, and the news was only 15 minutes. And that was it. We had one phone, and then much later we had a phone in the kitchen, and then we got a really long cord for it so I could pull it where my mom could, and then go talk someplace else. Um, Milton Berle, no, Milton, you spelled it wrong, but it was Milton Berle, Berel, I think, or Al. Um, I didn't like him. Just didn't like him. I got a bad feeling from him. But yeah, the entertainment was very different. Um, there was, what was his name? Lawrence. I can't remember. Um, he had a band, an orchestra, and who was the guy? Oh, there was what's his name? Oh, I can't remember names. Away We Go. That was the Honeymooners. They were on. I think they started out originally at 15 minutes, and they were a half an hour. Lucille Ball. These, even that was later than what I'm talking about. Um, it was different. 1947 and even 1950, it was still, it was very, very different. We used to go past, uh, why? I don't know why, because I may just not publish this. Um, my dad would, on Sundays, we would take rides, but a lot of times we went to a relative's house and or his best friend's house, which was really in the country at that time. Um, but where my grandmother lived and my aunt Betty, they lived on Broad Street, um, below Einstein Hospital. And on Sundays we could hear the bells from the church, which was really lovely. There were three theaters there that played first run movies, and Linton's, which I'm sure none of you would have heard of. It was a chain restaurant that was moderate prices. Um, there was an ice cream place downstairs. My grandmother liked the guy very much. His name was Eileen. He was from Germany. My aunt thought he was a Nazi. Uh, I'm sure that he did nothing that ever sounded like a Nazi or, you know, but they had just fought the Second World War. Um, there were trolleys on Broad Street. Uh, the subway was there. You could walk. It was really nice. There was a A&P that was old fashioned, where instead of getting what you want and then taking it to the front to a cashier, they had like tables, and it was more like a farmer's market than anything like today. You know, your eggs might be in one section, Dairy would be in another section. Breads would be in another section. It was very different. And of course, cars didn't go as fast. People weren't riding bicycles on the street at all. You did see, there were things for horses, but you didn't see many horses on the street. Um, there were still horse troughs where horses could get water, though. There was one at around 3rd and Bainbridge in Philadelphia, a big one that I remember. We used to walk we lived in West Oak Lane, and we would walk to my grandmother's and then walk to Germantown. Germantown was beautiful. Just remember how um, the sidewalks were brick, which would be really awful to walk on in the winter. But I guess I wasn't. I'm not sorry that I'm old. I really remember and value being with my grandmother, who was born in 1878, and my dad was born in 1907. Mom was 1912. Um, Seeing women driving the trolleys, which stopped by 1949 or 50, they they wanted women to be at home, the government, and they literally fired the women, and they just hired men. Um, Women were really expected to stay home. Uh, I mean, the man was expected to bring home enough money for the family. Women didn't work unless they were divorced or they were widowed, and they were looked on with suspicion. This is in America. Women walked around, I think I said this before, with aprons on, whether they were doing stuff. Well, the good thing about aprons is that you protect your clothes. So whatever you're doing, you're not going to get your clothes dirty. Um, it's just different, very different. People hung their clothes outside, and when the clothes would start dragging on the ground, neighbors would call each other and tell them that your sheets are hanging on the ground. It would start raining. You didn't know it was going to start raining because there wasn't really anything. Should I sub? Yeah, sub. It's a good thing to do. It'll get you experience in teaching. It's really it's a good thing. Um, the there weren't clothes dryers. There were washing machines. There weren't dishwashers. They just weren't. They didn't. Somewhere they had them, but they weren't. People didn't have them. I mean, these were. I lived in a fairly middle class neighborhood, and they didn't have them. Um, it's different. The If the man had a car to go to work, and if the woman had a car, she had like a junker, because she wasn't working, so she didn't have to have a car. Women often went and had their hair done once a week, and so it was hard. Like they would put lacquer on it, and so it was really, whatever whatever style they wore. Hey, happy birthday! I can't see your name. Um, I can't read it. It looks like Jim Dandy. I can't. It's hard. I can't read it. Too small. Anyhow, it was definitely a different time. Each time has its own flavor. I know. No, I didn't like the honeymooners. I did not. And I didn't know why I didn't like it. And maybe it's because he used to threaten her, and I didn't like it. I wasn't even crazy about Lucille Ball. I love Lucy. I loved Gunsmoke, the westerns that were on, and I don't know when they were. I guess the 50s. I loved them. Have Gun Will Travel was one. Maverick was another one. They were like one after the other. Perry Mason was another one that I really liked. Um, I thought they were fun. I don't know why I didn't like um, I Love Lucy. I didn't like uh, what's her name, Arnaz. I really didn't like. I don't think I liked the men's attitude. I still don't like that. The pushy, macho stuff. Not for me. I hate it. Ugh. I don't want to talk to a man that's like that. You take it over there. I don't want to be, especially not being an older woman. I really don't want to hear it. I think that was why I didn't like it. Lawrence Welk was the guy. I didn't like his show either. Um, he used to he. My grandmother liked his show, of course, because they played music from about like 1812. No, I'm sorry, 1912. Um, and I didn't like the 50s music either. Oh my goodness, so much. Couldn't stand Rosemary Clooney and that music. It really like, you know, later on I started to really like jazz, Artie Shaw and stuff. But then no. Oh, that thank you. What's crazy there is less than 1% World War II veterans left. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. My uncles were in World War II. Um, actually my family is old. We lost my uncle, two uncles in World War One. That was the big one in my family. And then my father was too old for World War II. My grandfather though used to stand on the roof and watch for enemy planes. I know how he got on the roof because my brother and I used to later on drive my grandmother crazy. There was a window in the middle room in her apartment, and you could open the window and you could climb on the roof. And she used to worry that we would make a lot of noise um, and bother the business that was downstairs, which I think was a hardware store. And we apparently never did, but we thought it was the most incredible thing in the world to be walking around on, tasty cakes, to be walking around on the roof. Yeah, tasty cakes. But there was in the 50s and the 60s, all those box things came out, spatini, that you could make your spaghetti sauce. You just put in spaghetti paste, like I think 2 cans of it. My mother made that all the time. She didn't know about, making the sauce. No, she made box cakes all the time. Um, Salad, no, that our Uncle Otto used to bring over salad stuff all summer, tomatoes and cucumbers, and um, one time he brought over cherries, tart cherries, and we actually made pie. It was the only time in my life I ever made a pie. I made it with my mother. Um, yeah, yeah, no, the World War II guys, there are like a couple of Holocaust survivors left. Um, then the few people who were in their hundreds. Why is it always in France? In France and Japan, there's always somebody in France who's 114 years old, and there's always a lot of somebodies in Japan who are like 102, 106. Why? I think because they eat healthier. They're not eating a lot of meat. And in France, I don't know, drinking red wine. I don't know. No, they drink wine. Um, that's really, I can't think of anything else, but it was, oh, there goes my husband saying, "Are you coming down?" So, yes, I'm going to go downstairs and have something, and then I'll be back up and I'm going to do my meditation and watch more news. I'm really interested in what's going on with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I feel I couldn't feel worse for the girls, the little girls especially. They were poor girls, and flashing $100 bills at them. They would basically not line up, but try to do whatever because they wanted that money, and then that when they realized what was doing, it screwed up their entire lives. And these men couldn't care less. They just thought of them as trash, like white trash. I'm not sure if they were all white, and they probably weren't. It doesn't matter whatever color they were, or whatever background they were. It doesn't matter. And the men probably chose whatever they wanted, like in a bordello. And then the men walked away, like you know, that was nice. And a lot of times the worst ones are the ones who act the most self-righteous. So we'll see. Some of the names have come out because the girls have said them. And yes, they've actually mentioned Trump. There's at least one, and I think there's another one. Oh, there, we know he rapes because we know about E. Jean Carroll and all. This is the guy who's the president of the United States. What do you think of that? I'm just appalled. I've never seen that in my life. When I talked to, what's his name, Eisenhower, I've talked to Eisenhower, and the elder Bush always walks in. The last time they had seen me too often, they started telling me like off color jokes because they're men, but I don't see them raping 11-year-old girls. I see me leaving because I don't want to hear their off color jokes because I know what I don't want to know. I don't want that. Um, I did talk to Ozzy Osbourne in case you're interested yesterday. Um, I do that. And I talked with my friend, my daughter's friend passed away young, and I talked to her. I can do that. If you ever want to talk to someone who passed on, yeah, I do that. And it's easy for me to do it. Um, that's really it. Trying to read Tomislav Kempadic. Wow, it's really. I love some of the names. They're wonderful. I mean, they're so. Some of them are beautiful. Marissa and lots of the names. You have Jenny. I'm not. I probably am not saying it right. I wish I could. They're just beautiful. Some of the black names in America are beautiful. And knock them dead. They're gorgeous. I worked with a Tynesha, Rashid. They're lovely names. Okay, so I'm gonna go. My husband did make food, and it's almost a half an hour. That's too long for me to be talking about this stuff. By the way, oh, this is not besides the point. On the television shows in the 1950s and 60s, the women all wore high heels. They did. Um, And when you went down the shore or to, I don't know how it is in the West, you would go out, wear gloves and a hat and probably high heels. But I was a little girl. I didn't have to wear high heels, although I wanted to, of course. Um, just saying, I thought the 1940s were different, but they were also high heels, just a different style. I love shoes and costuming. Um, I'm an artist. That's what I do. Uh, other than just chew the bacon when here. All right. Have a lovely evening. Oh, and this is my one tattoo. It's really celebrating an art show that I had and my garden. I built a whole garden. I ruined my back, but I built a four-season garden. Okay. I'm so pleased with you all. Push the buttons and write to me. Just write to me. And I can talk to the spirits. I do all the time. Take it easy, feel good.